Hey everybody, my name is Josh, and today we are going to be talking about stereo and mono signals. So when it comes to mixing audio, one of the most fundamental aspects of mixing is you being able to understand the difference between a stereo and mono signal, and this understanding helps you get better with your mixing. So let's dive into understanding the difference between stereo and mono. So basically, mono signal is one signal, so left and the right coming together, summing up to bring out one signal. Then stereo signal means left minus right, so the difference between the left and right, that is what gives us our stereo. That's what gives us the perception of this is not mono, this is stereo. So let's take a look at what a mono sounds like. So I have a mono part here, and I'm going to switch things up, and you can learn from how I switch things up from mono to stereo. So this is a mono part. Okay, and I also have an instrumental, a song of mine that is coming out soon. So I just have the instrumental, so listen to how it sounds. This audio file has stereo information. So what I want to do now is switch up the track itself, not the file. I'm not changing any information from the file. All I'm doing is changing the information on the track where that file is. So this track already is a stereo track. You can see around here, these two zeros means stereo. Once you click on it, it turns mono. So this is what Logic Pro calls channel mode. So once you click on it, it tells you that, oh, now this channel has now been configured to be a mono signal. So listen to how it sounds when it is in mono. You can hear that the sound sounds like it's in center. If you're using a headphone, you may not be able to get the true mono signal because your ears are wide apart and because of how the headphones are structured. So that's why it's always best to mix, check your mono signals on loudspeakers. So now listen to how it sounds when I switch it back to stereo. Okay. You can hear the difference. Let me switch it back to mono. I have to pause it. Okay. If you notice that when I switch it back to stereo, it becomes wider. When I move it back to mono, it becomes smaller. So the next thing I want to talk about is how to switch mono signals to stereo. So I need you to understand the fact that because you see a file that has these two information, this is the left and this is the right. The one up is the left, the one down is the right. Just me looking at the audio wave, I know this is a stereo, it's rather a mono signal, because it has very identifiable waves. If you look at it compared to this is not very identifiable. If you look closely, you can see that it is not very identifiable. See here, has this bump down. This just has a little of it, doesn't have much of it. This has more of this one has just a little. So just tiny differences. That's why we say stereo information is the difference between the left and the right. So mono information is the summation of the left and right. So this is a summation of the left and right. So now let's listen to how it sounds. So now let me switch it to a stereo signal, because despite the fact that this is on a stereo mode, does not mean that it's going to switch to is going to have some differences in between the left and the right ears. It doesn't mean that. So this is originally a mono audio file. So bringing a mono audio file into a stereo audio track does not convert it to a stereo signal automatically. So what I do is, when I have a file like this, like a pad, and I feel I need some space, I really don't use reverbs. So what I do is I use this sample delay in Logic. Is a default, is a stock plugin in Logic. So what I do is I just delay the time between the left and right ears, and that does the magic for me. So listen. So it's on, it's off. You see smaller. When I click activate it, it becomes wider. Okay, so now the next question you want to ask yourself: how do you use plugins when you have, an audio file that has, stereo informations? The truth is, when you have audio files with stereo informations, create a stereo track, because the audio file is as important as what you do to it next. Once you have an audio file with a stereo information and you're having a mono track for it, basically you're collapsing that track, track into a mono file, basically, and you might not get the result, except it is intentional. So one thing I might want to do, if I have a stereo track and I want to collapse it into mono, I probably might not use this function, because sometimes it fails me. I won't lie to you, maybe because of my version of Logic. So what I do is I use Waves S1. Okay, let me just run it on a stereo track. Then I'll do it on a mono track also, after I have added my effects on it, my processing on it rather. So let's run this. So all I need to do, this is the width fader, so I bring it to 0, so I have it straight in center. So once I take it off, it becomes wide. Once I bring it, take it back on, it becomes narrow. So that's the idea. Or I use Logic's gain plugin. I just click on mono, or turn it off, turn on mono, or turn it off. So basically that's how I change stereo information audio to mono. So the next thing I want to show you is this pad. If I want to have it wide and I don't want to have it so wide, this is what I can do. Depending on the track, if I add this processing and I feel the pad is sounding too away from the rest of the music, so I can turn on this processing, bring it down a bit. Then if I still feel that it sounds too wide from the rest of the mix, I just use this S1 and slim it down. So I can slim it down. It still sounds inside, it still has this space, nice space to it, and all of that. So if I turn these two plugins off, just one, next one. So the stereo delay takes it really wide, while the S1 is able to manage it and bring it back. So it's not sounding dead center and it's not sounding too wide. So it's a trick you can add to your mixing knowledge, and it will help you a lot. So why is stereo really important? The idea of having a stereo mix is for people who listen to songs to have that same experience as they would when they listen to that song, or when they listen to the artist perform on stage. Because as human beings, we listen to sound in stereo, except you have a challenge with one of your ears. Aside that, even if you have a mono signal coming out from your speaker, you cannot hear that signal as mono because you are in a room and there will be reflections, and even if you are outside there are reflections everywhere, so you cannot really listen to sound in mono, except that you have headphones on so you can really hear the sounds, in mono. But practically you really cannot hear sounds in mono if you're in a room and the sound is coming out from your speakers. I don't know if that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense to you and you need more explanation, leave a comment below and I'll definitely do my best to explain to you. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this.